Hi, I'm Mallory. This is Lance. We're the Irwins, and we're planning a church in Pearland, Texas.
That's right. And I just wanted to start off the conversation today by way of confession. Strong start. Exactly. No, 7 years ago, I remember I was having a conversation with a pastor, and I said I would never plant a church. And I'm thinking through load in, load out. You know, it would be easier just to operate in a building that's already been built, and all of the reasons why it just felt like a lot of needless work to plant a church. A couple years after I said that, I remember there was a week that changed the trajectory of our lives forever. And in that week, there was a Monday that God had given me this prophetic dream and a vision. And then that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, people from the church just kept coming to me with their own prophetic dreams, and they all built on each other. And we walked out of that week having this divine obligation that we knew without a shadow of a doubt God was calling us to plant a church, which led to all of the questions of when are we going to do this? Where are we going to do this? Who are we going to do this with? And just having all of this uncertainty. But the thing that we were certain about was this is obedience for us, and God is calling us to do this.
Yeah. When we stepped into ministry, we put our yes on the table. We said, God, whatever you want to do, we will do it. Little did we know what that would actually look like in our lives, but we had already decided. So we knew that, from where we were to the reality of church planning, there was going to be a series of faith steps that God was going to take us through. And the first of those faith steps was moving across the country to South Carolina.
Not knowing a soul.
Not knowing anybody, never even stepping foot into the state, to a church called Newspring. And little did we know that God was really going to do a work in us. And it was in that season and at the Columbia campus that we saw what a church looked like going all in on discipling people. Yeah. We saw a church that loved its people and loved seeing their people grow in their everyday relationship with the Lord. And it was in that time that our ministry mindset shifted, and the ways to do church, our idea of what church could look like really changed. And we really felt equipped and ready to go and to plant this church.
You might remember in the fall of 2023, we had a series called Citizens. It was about the book of Daniel and these Hebrew boys that were living in Babylon. And it was a different culture, it was a different language, and even different names that they had. But it was in the midst of all of that, because of their uniqueness, that God was able to use them in a powerful way. And we feel in that same way, in that same vein, that God is calling us to lead a group of people that operates with a different culture and is unique, but makes a profound impact on the community that it's in. And we believe that's what God calls all of us to do as Christians, as a believer. Right. Philippians 3:20, it's our namesake verse. It says that our citizenship is in heaven, and we eagerly await the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. So with that verse, we felt like God was calling us to name the church Citizen Church. So that's our name, and that really is the vision of the church, is we want to lead a body of believers into their heavenly citizenship.
We have this vision. It's amazing. We've grasped onto it. We're going to take it. And then the question then becomes, okay, God, where do you want to take this? Where do you want us to go? And why Pearland specifically? Pearland is where I'm from. We have a huge heart for Pearland, and it has only grown. Something that was kind of shocking to us was this statistic that we found was, if every church in Pearland was maxed out at capacity, there would only be enough room to house and to host 40% of the population. Yeah,
there's a big need in Pearland. And that's why we feel so charged from the Lord. Just a little bit about the landscape in Pearland. One, there's a lot of commuters that live in Pearland that work in Houston. So a lot of people see Pearland as a great place to live, even though, they're working in the city. So a lot of families, but also a lot of young professionals. And it's in that kind of social makeup that we really think that God is calling us just to thrive in that landscape. So that leads us to one question. How can you help? And there's a few ways that you can do that. First, we just want to thank you for listening to the story, for being a part and being so generous to it. I can't imagine where we would be in this process without Newspring and Newspring Network and all the ways that we just feel so invested into, that we can already make an impact in Pearland without having to fundraise. So thank you for that. You can stay connected with us by going to our website or our Instagram. We believe God is just writing the greatest story, and we would love for you to stay up to date with that story. And the last thing that we just want to end with is we want to encourage you to take the faith step God's calling you to take. We know for every believer, that's a part of our faith. And God calls us to take step of faith to step of faith, because that leads us to our God dream. That God dream that you were born with, that He created you for. We want to push you into that. I hope our testimony just shows God provides for every step of the way, but you need to take this step. So Newspring family, we love you so much. Thank you for your involvement, and thank you for your prayers.